We do have Hikaru Nakamura here with us, and he's ready to show us his game against Fabiano Caruana.
I was expecting Fabiano to be a little bit sharper since I felt that he had nothing to lose. So I spent most of my time looking at other openings besides e4, e5. Yeah, and then he did this, and I mean, sort of I decided to play something very cheesy and lame in the spirit of like Jeffrey Zhang and David Pravian. I mean, these two guys, they play this stupid four nights online in Title Tuesday every week, at least like 2 or 3 times. But on the other hand, it's also not that bad, and I didn't really expect much. But Fabiano decided to play something that I think is maybe very slightly dubious. And even though he had chances, perhaps it was always very easy for me to play and much harder for him to play.
Let's see, what is that something dubious?
Yeah, so I mean, okay, all this is normal, of course. I mean, bishop d3, d5 takes, cd5. Of course, h3, bishop e6. Yeah, I mean, Fabiano played this c5 order, but we transpose anyway after bishop e6, queen f3, c5. Yeah, now I go rook d1. I mean, this was all very normal. Of course, there's again, some stupid online Pravian game that I was aware of in this position after queen g3, but I think that game had f6. But the important thing about that game was, I think it was f6, bishop h6, rook f7, rook d6, rook e8, and then a4. And so, I mean, I kind of knew this idea from this position. So then when Fabi played king h8, I was still sort of able to play the same way.
Actually, how do you assess that position? Do you feel white has a little...
I mean, it's a draw with perfect play, but the queen is kind of offsides, very similar to my game today. And with the queen being a little bit offsides on a5, I think if anyone's better, it's white. So, I mean, again, with perfect play, black should draw, but there are some practical issues. But yeah, in the game, I think right here already, Fabi needed to play queen a6 immediately. I think he sort of underestimated this whole a4 rook d6 idea. I think if he goes queen a6, queen c4, he's still very much in the game and probably should draw. But I think as soon as he plays rook e8, rook d6, and I get this setup, it's very tricky for black already. And I think it's almost too late because now the queen is stuck. You can never go queen c7 because then I have rook takes e6, queen g3, and I just trade the rooks and fg3, and I simply win the game because I have an extra bishop here. And so I think it's already very tricky for black. And I think Fabiano went wrong immediately with h6. I think here maybe he had rook a b8 possibly to try to go for rook b2. But again, I mean, it's very messy for black. And again, for Fabiano, he's obviously very confused at this point because, I mean, it looks like a very dry position, but the queen on a5 is just really out of play.
Were you kind of surprised yourself in the game at how quickly things took a turn for the worse for Fabi?
I mean, as soon as I got rook d6, I realized he was going to have problems. I mean, I expect him to go queen a6, but I think Fabi also just assumed it was very easy, no risk, no danger. Because, I mean, if you look at the position optically, like somewhere like around here, it looks like the only plan for white is to go for some h4, h5. That really looks like the only idea, but I'm positionally dominating the queen here on a5 instead. And so I always have h4, h5 later, but I don't have to go for it right away. And I think already here it's very dangerous because Fabi wanted to go rook d8, which there are two problems. First one is that I think bishop e5 and f6, which Fabi and I were discussing, was rook b1, and then rook b7 maybe is already very good for white. This is number one. But even here, I also can go for rook c6, trying to trap the queen with bishop c7. And I mean, all these lines are very shaky for black. And I mean, what Fabiano did instead, I think, was maybe even worse in a way because it didn't clarify anything. And after queen e3, I mean, also here, let me just see, I'm curious. Is this winning with bishop h6? I just want to see, 1 second. No, it's not. Because also here, for a second, I wasn't sure if I could go for this line, but I didn't see more than a draw with queen e5, king g8, rook e1. And now I think he has, I don't know if it matters, but say rook d8, rook e3, and rook d7. I thought this was actually holding for black. Yeah, and the computer says 0, so... let me turn off the evaluation again. But basically, I saw this, and then I'm like, okay, no need to sack a bishop.
I think that
here, rook e1 threatens that idea.
Rook e1 right here. Like this. Yeah, but see, the thing is, since I had this great positional domination on the queen side, I thought I should just keep it static and not give Fabi chances. I mean, yeah, if rook e1 works, then this is probably great. But I just figured, you know, with the queen completely offsides, Fabi getting low on time, bishop e5, g4, h4, bishop h6. I mean, as long as I keep the queen there and he doesn't have an obvious plan, I think I have great chances. And yeah, Fabi played rook c8, which is simply, I mean, it just hangs h6 and probably the game with it. But I don't really know what else he's supposed to do because also, I mean, maybe he should go c4, but this is such an ugly looking move to play here. because I can probably just take, and eventually I'm going to put something on d4, and I'm just going to play for five years. So, I mean, but rook c8, bishop h6, of course, is just losing. So after takes, king g8, check, king f8, queen f6. I'm threatening mate in 1, and if you go rook e8, I just sack the rook, takes, and queen h8, take the rook, and black king's too weak. So he played f6, and yeah, then I went queen e4. Again, I don't know if this was right. I mean, I know it worked out, but I also could have just played bishop f4 here and just sat on the position, gone h4, g4, just like go drink some tea and waste more time and make Fabi suffer. But I just assumed intuitively that this position after rook d1, rook e8, and rook d8 had to be winning somehow. But it took me quite a while to calculate this correctly, because basically, initially I thought that I could play queen g6, but actually if I go queen g6 takes and rook d8, black has rook g8 here. And now black is completely fine. I mean, it's just going to be a draw. So I have to invert the order and play it the other way, and it doesn't quite work. So now if he takes, just a couple of lines, there's queen g6. If rook f8, takes, check, rook d3, followed by rook g3, and white's completely winning. So this is very simple. And if he plays bishop f7, which is the line I spent most of my time on, I have to be a little bit careful. Because if I take on f7, there's rook e1, and now black actually should save the game. But I can just take, go rook d3, queen e1, king h2, rook e5, and now the very important move h4. And I think rook g3 next should just be winning for white. So yeah, so Fabi found bishop g8, only try. I took a long time here to play queen h4, but I think it was right. Takes, rook d3, of course, to cut him off. And
at this point, did you feel like if you kept your cool?
Well, I mean, the thing is, Fabi's so low on time, and he has to defend miraculously. I mean, I assume this is just winning. Let me just take a look at the evaluation, if it'll let me. Yeah, okay, so I did play well. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I had a feeling here that with the attack, and most importantly, I mean, a lot of positions with opposite colored bishops, the side that's attacking has great chances to win. So I think already here it was very, very straightforward. I did actually miss this g5 move. Like, I spent quite a bit of time here because I initially thought I could just take a rook d7 and win the game, but there's always this g5 trick. So I played rook d7 and then queen g3, and now, I mean, I don't know, maybe a computer says there's some miracle, but with the rooks on d7, d8, the bad bishop, the good bishop on h6, I think it's just winning. And I mean, Fabi kind of, he finally blundered with queen f5, or blundered in a way that loses immediately. But yeah, I mean, of course, all this was very, very straightforward. And then I take this and just go right into this endgame. And once we get f3, g4, the rest is very, very simple. So it's a good win.
Very nice win. Hikaru, you started the tournament with 2 draws. Now you're in the lead on 7.5. You're one good result away from qualifying to the candidates. How do you manage to keep those thoughts at bay going into tomorrow's last round?
Well, I mean, what thoughts? I mean, you just play chess. Like, it's very simple. I have nothing to lose. I mean, there are plenty of other players who have a lot to lose because this is their big moment for the year. For me, it's just another tournament. So, you know, not to sort of belabor the point, but I mean, I just try to play good chess. I'm not really thinking about the candidates.
Did you have a look around today? There are so many exciting games going on.
I mean, I saw Parham as usual, getting one of his typical positions. You know, he seems to be very good at winning these dubious positions against the 2600s, which is why his rating has gotten so high. But it looked to me like Andre had a good position. So I don't know if Andre is going to win the position, but I mean, it looked very, very good for him. So I don't know what the position currently is.
We can bring it up if you want.
Sure. So this one, yeah, what's the position? Yeah, I mean, this is typical Parham game. But I mean, Andre should be winning, I assume. The 2 bishops, weak rook on g4, looks very bad for black. So. Yeah, I mean, I guess that was the one that I was watching. I didn't really get a chance to look at the other one between Bogdan and Vidit, but small advantage for black, I guess. But is Vidit going to win? Actually, the time situation is a big problem if the time is correct.
I believe the time is.
Yeah, so I mean, Vidit has very good chances, I think, to win. Although Deak is a very good blitz player online, so I mean, maybe. There's bishop a5, knight e3. It's not so simple for black to prove, but still. Well, the more I look at this, the more that I start to think that white's probably okay, even though he's down a pawn. Yeah, so we'll see what happens in this game, but I'm assuming I'll be probably the sole. Well, no, I'll probably be tied with Andrei Sapenko after this round. So yeah, it's all good.
I'm going to turn to our commentators to see if they have any final questions.
No, I was just actually getting deja vu from the last round of Norway Chess, where actually a very similar kind of plot unfolded with your game against Fabiano. Is that something you had in mind? I mean, you know each other so well. Just hit him in the opening, and
the more like the actual irony is that I played Fabiano I think in the final round here in 2019 in a game where if I had won I would have qualified for the candidates, and I mean as fate would have it, it's a very good thing that I didn't win that game for obvious reasons. But yeah, I've had white against Fabi in a couple of these last rounds. Norway, of course, a little bit different than this, certainly, because Fabi was clearly leading here. We were on the same score, but you just try to play good chess, try to put some pressure on your opponents. And I think Fabi, especially today, the other one was just simply a blunder in the opening, but today he assumed it was just a dead draw when it wasn't a dead draw, and he was a little bit careless, and yeah, I was able to capitalize. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, and just looking at all the other games, both in the open and the women's section, I'm seeing that there's going to be a lot of decisive results. Is that something surprising to you?
Well, I mean, this is different than a normal tournament. I think in a normal tournament where there's just cash up for grabs, you would see a lot more draws. But here, everyone's trying to qualify, which I think also is why you're seeing a lot less of like the rating deflation. People aren't losing as many points, generally speaking, of course, because their opponents have to try as well. Like the 2650s, 2660s are trying to win games with the white pieces as well. So, because of that, I think that everyone's trying, and that's why it's more exciting. You have candidate spots up for grabs, and everyone wants them. So, except for me.
What are you saying? You don't care about the candidates? Or?
I mean, it's nice, but it doesn't change anything. So, I mean, yeah, I think ultimately for me, when I look at everything, it's just mentally, as long as you don't let the pressure get to you, good things will happen. I've said it many times, but the candidates always has the worst quality chess compared to any normal 2700 super elite event during the year, and there's a good reason for that. It's because everybody loses their mind due to nerves and emotions, and so if you keep those at bay, good things can happen.
Hikaru, thank you very much.
I was just going to ask one final question. If you get to the candidates from this tournament, who else would you like to see join you if you could choose?
Well, I mean, I was thinking, generally speaking, for like Fabi and the others, it would be much better if I didn't get in the top two, because I think having Ali Reza by rating instead of having like a random 2700 qualify here would be much more favorable for all the people who are already in. But if I make it, obviously Ali Reza will be in. If I don't, I mean, probably it'll be me. But just have to see what happens tomorrow.
Thank you.
Hikaru, thank you so much. Congratulations and good luck.